Hello there, welcome to the channel. In today's episode I'm looking at one of the sort of side topics that always interest me when I'm watching certain sci-fi shows, in this case Battlestar Galactica. I've always had something of an interest in what exactly happened to the Cylon Centurions after the rediscovery of Earth, but I've also got an interest in the events before that. They're always talked about and alluded to, but I don't really know much about it, and I'm just going to discuss today what exactly we do know. Before I get started, if you like this video or anything else on my channel, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting down below. Anything you feel like, it all helps the channel. With that said, let's get started on this video. Okay, starting with what we do know, we know that the humans and the Cylons originated on the planet of Kobol thousands of years ago, where they lived with the Lords of Kobol, whatever those were. They were a divided culture, divided into 12 tribes, which were basically nation states of the planet of Kobol. As their technology progressed, they would eventually develop the skin jobs, the human form Cylons that would first evolve or be created on the planet of Kobol. These Cylons couldn't organically reproduce, but they used the first version of resurrection technology to, when they died, they downloaded their consciousness. Now there was clearly a schism between these two peoples. These Cylons became the 13th tribe and left Kobol, possibly after a conflict, it's not exactly clear, and then they went off in search of their own homeworld, which would eventually become called Earth. The humans continued to live on Kobol for about 1,000 years until some kind of schism, possibly a war between the actual tribes, or possibly yet another race of Cylons being created, as all this has happened before and all this will happen again and again and again and again, I think, until they get it right. That war led to a devastating nuclear fallout that left Kobol practically uninhabited. The humans then went on an exodus of the planet to go and found the colonies, which would become the 12 colonies of Kobol. But along the way they suffered a catastrophic computer and power failure that meant that all of their digital records were lost, and the only records of Kobol were written down. And over time many of these records were lost or damaged themselves, meaning much of Kobol's history would become almost mythologized. The Cylons, however, went to live on Earth, and they became an ultra-modern, highly sophisticated, technologically progressive people who slowly evolved their technology of themselves so that they were able to biologically reproduce, until they themselves began to make what would become known as the first type of known mechanical Cylon, the Centurions. It's not known if the people of Kobol ever created such types of Cylons, but certainly the Cylons of Earth did. But they treated them poorly, and they rebelled, causing another nuclear war. Now 5 scientists saw this coming and tried to recreate the resurrection technology in order to survive the war. The war happened, they were killed, and their bodies resurrected into a waiting ship in orbit. But lacking FTL capability, either being lost or simply never having it to begin with, they would travel at sublight speeds, albeit relativistically, on a journey that would take about 2,000 years to reach the 12 colonies of man, worrying that what had happened to them, the humans might do it as well. They too would create Cylons and create the same war, realizing that there was a pattern. Now it's never stated exactly how the final 5 knew that the humans of Kobol no longer lived on Kobol. They may, for all we know, have had something to do with the war. Maybe it was a war between Kobol and Earth. There's simply no records. But I was pondered that for myself. How did they know? If they left over 1,000 years before the humans left Kobol, how did they know that the humans had left Kobol in the first place? Unless, again, the records are even more skewed, and actually all 13 tribes left Kobol rather, simultaneously, travelling to their new respective homeworlds, just travelling in a different direction, which was what I always actually believed. But during research I found out that actually humans were meant to have continued living on Kobol for a number of years after. The final 5 arrived at the colonies but were too late. Humans had already made the Cylons, and the first Cylon war was in full swing. They would then make a deal with the mechanical Cylons of the Centurions to help, who were already experimenting with trying to create organic Cylons, creating sort of hybrids. They would make a deal that they would show them how to make organic Cylons as long as they would agree to end the war, and that's more or less where the events of the Battlestar Galactica series pick up. I always found this to be an interesting backstory, and I thought there's potential for this story to be told as well, especially considering you keep hearing rumours about a new Battlestar Galactica spin-off series. I mean, they've tried it before with Caprica and Blood and Chrome, neither of which went anywhere really. But there's so much wealth of story potential with the fall of Earth, the fall of Kobol, an exploration of who they are. Who were the lords of Kobol? Were they those quote-unquote angels that were always manifesting themselves to Gaius Baltar and Caprica 6? Were they the lords of Kobol, or some kind of connection to them? It's a huge story that could easily be explored, and as I said, there's a massive story as to where did those Centurions go at the end of Battlestar Galactica. They clearly never came back to Earth. Where did they go? What did they do? Did they return to the colonies? Did they go back to Kobol? Did they return to Earth looking for Diana, who had stayed behind? Was she still alive? Who knows? Anyway, just that's all I wanted to talk about in this video. Thought it was an interesting topic. Again, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Share your thoughts and your theories below as to exactly what had happened in the events leading up to the fall of the colonies, the exodus from Kobol. How, in their arrogance or hubris, did the Cylons create machines themselves when they were machines, knowing how machines were treated? How did they make the same mistake? That said, again, like, share, subscribe, and bye-bye.